I might be putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with, I was going to say 5, I might be coming up with the sum total of 20 here. I might be way wide of the mark. However, I would ask the question, is it totally unreasonable to suspect that West Ham United might be interested in Xabi Alonso as their next manager? The dots are easy to join. Lots of people do it with transfer speculation. We're interested in X, Y and Z because Tim Steidten was at Leverkusen, because Tim Steidten knows the German market. So automatically you might believe a story linking us with a German player over maybe a player in France or something like that. That's how it goes, right? That's how it sort of works. However, there is a direct link here between Tim Steidten and Xabi Alonso. The direct link is in place because that was Tim's pick. Bayer Leverkusen were looking for a new manager. Tim Steidten went out and he hired Xabi Alonso. I think firstly, even if you don't suspect that Xabi Alonso is coming to West Ham, that has got to give us some sort of optimism. That's something that I'm very, very happy about, because whenever David Moyes does depart, and it could be the end of this season, he could sign another 3-year deal. That's unlikely. I think if he did sign another deal, it'd be 2 years. But anyway, forget that for a moment. Whenever that happens, that David Moyes' time at West Ham comes to an end, as long as Tim Steidten's here, then he's going to be the guy that recruits the next manager. In many respects, I would argue that it would be the first time that West Ham have done it properly, and it would certainly be the first time that they've done it by using a director of football, recruitment director, whatever the case may be. And I think, isn't it great that the guy that's going to be doing that job for us already has one in the bank, if you like, a really good example of him looking for a young upcoming coach and finding one. And make no mistake about it, I think that's absolutely what West Ham should be doing with the next manager that they pick. So I guess the question comes down to, if it's the end of this season, and here's where you sort of join the dots, and it's an easy summary to make, I'm just not sure how true it is. So you join the dots and you think David Moyes is contracted to West Ham until the end of this season. They are not in talks at the moment. So either you believe he's going to leave, or you believe he's going to stay, or you don't know, as is the case for most of us. However, we can only deal with the facts, and that is he's contracted until the end of the season. Now, Tim Steidten, I think, and I've felt for some time now, is probably operating, if he's a car, he's running on 3 cylinders. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't say operating with one hand tied behind his back. Realistically, when he joined West Ham, whilst it's very nice flying around on a jet, did he want to be the one closing the deals? Did he want to be the one pictured next to Jared Bowen with a pen in his hand, smiling and all of that? Probably not. Steidten probably thought he would be the one selecting players. And as I've already sort of argued, at least 2 of the players, possibly 3 that have come in since he arrived, have not been Steidten picks. Look, Steidten was interviewed for a job at Tottenham. He was interviewed for a job at Chelsea. Very nearly got the Chelsea job. This is a guy who is highly regarded in European football. And you can absolutely understand why. Because his team, Bayer Leverkusen, so a lot of players that he scouted and he selected, are top of the Bundesliga, which ain't an easy thing to do, by the way. You know the dominance of that league, with the manager at the helm who he chose. So I feel that he would probably be wanting to do more. He'd probably want more responsibility, Steidten. Now, you've got to ask yourself, or something I do, is he at the moment just marking out time until he gets that responsibility? I don't know. There's some things that muddy the water. David Moyes is doing really, really well. It's hard to imagine at the moment that West Ham could get a better manager than David Moyes at the moment. When I say better, I'm not talking about someone you might prefer more, but more effective. The trophy, we're doing really well in the league, the European qualification, the way we seem to just steamroller our way through group stages. I mean, he's done a damn effective job. Very effective job, David Moyes. Without plucking ridiculous managers out of the air, you're not going to make the case. I don't think there are loads and loads of people that are going to definitely do a better job than David Moyes ready to. So David Moyes could stay. David Moyes alluded to the fact there's exciting things ahead for West Ham. I wonder what those are. I don't know. We don't know. I doubt he thinks one of those exciting things is him not remaining at the club. So actually we don't know. We don't know what's going on. I think one thing is clear. There's not this massive fallout and everybody hating one another, which was rumoured and reported at the start of the season. I think at West Ham it's pretty harmonious at the moment. Now the news came out that Xabi Alonso, who was obviously doing remarkably well now, the news came out that he had release clauses in his contract. Now the release clauses, as I understand it, were for Liverpool, were for Real Madrid, and for Bayern Munich. His clubs, basically. Now, you wonder why West Ham aren't in there, right? But you get what I'm saying. So clearly this is an ambitious manager. That tells us that much. And sometimes we often say this with players. If you don't get the player now, you don't get them at all. Made the point with Cole Palmer was the most recent one. You've got to get him off Man City now or you ain't getting this kid. You get him, you buy him when he's 40 million because West Ham ain't buying him when he's 100 million. That's what I'm talking about. I guess the same could be said with managers. Let's have a little look at it. Jurgen Klopp is contracted until 2026. If West Ham need Xabi Alonso, we need him at the end of this season. So I think either happens then or not at all. End of this season. Liverpool are not ditching Jurgen Klopp to hire Xabi Alonso. They're just not. And it would not surprise me if Jurgen Klopp wants to do more time at Liverpool, particularly if they get taken over. They're up for sale by the Fenway Group. The chances of Liverpool being in different ownership before the end of 2026 are high. Anyone that comes in at Liverpool is going to want to keep Jurgen Klopp. I would argue one of the reasons you buy Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp will feel that he's done his best work at Liverpool without the resources of some of the other clubs. He would want the chance to have a go without having to sell his players or without having to cut his cloth. He would want to be able to spend 300 million in a transfer window and then, 200 million in the next transfer window. He'd love to do that, I'm sure. My point is, I'm not sure the Liverpool job is open to Xabi Alonso. The Real Madrid job, well, I mean, it's hard to know. It's early in the season. I watch them sometimes, and particularly with Jude Bellingham up there. Vicinius Jr., they got great players. Tuchemeni, is that his name? Tchouameni, whatever his name is. Valverde, great players there. They may well sweep all before them in Spain this season. If they do, then the manager's going nowhere, right? So that job is not up for grabs. However, I have also heard, by the way, that if Real Madrid get a new manager, it'll be De Zerbi from Brighton. There's another really good manager. My point is there's no guarantee that Xabi Alonso walks into that Real Madrid job. And maybe, just maybe, Real Madrid will want to see someone winning something first. Who knows? Which takes us to Bayern Munich. That's slightly different. I don't think Tuchel's had the best time there. And obviously, as I mentioned at the moment, well, clearly they're not at the top of the league because I mentioned Leverkusen are. Stuttgart in second, Bayern Munich third, Dortmund fourth. There's not much in it. There's a point or so in it. I've got it on the screen. Leverkusen 19 points. Dortmund are fourth with 17. There's nothing in it. I think that's the most likely. If anyone gets Alonso, I think it's Bayern Munich, but it's not guaranteed. So I do wonder if there is an opportunity for West Ham to get Xabi Alonso, if his stock is still high at the end of the season, does he become West Ham's next manager? I don't know. But I think it's a consideration. I really do. I think once you write off those three clubs, and I've written off two of them, but not the last in Bayern Munich, West Ham become a viable option because you are dealing with relationships there. Will West Ham ditch? There's a lot of unanswered questions. Will West Ham ditch David Moyes at the end of the season? Don't know. That's the truth. There's a lot to play out. Not just for Bayern Munich, not just for Leverkusen, not just for Real Madrid, but for West Ham as well. We don't know what's going to happen. Would David Moyes be offered a new deal? Well, he just might. But also he might not. You don't know. And if the plan all along was to let David Moyes see out his season, then let Tim Steidten, after almost like a year's apprenticeship, take over the reins, and Xabi Alonso hasn't won the Bundesliga, maybe Bayern Munich have, you may well just see a situation at the end of the season where Tim Steidten rings up his old mate Xabi Alonso and says, hey, fancy coming to work for me again at West Ham? Stranger things have happened.